welcome to you both. Happy to have you here with me. And Ms. Pranzo, could you start by introducing yourself and your history in the Warren Township Schools?
Sure. Thank you, Dr. Mingle. So good afternoon or good morning. My name is Ms. Pranzo, or Alexandra Pranzo, and I am the school counselor at Woodland. And this is currently my third year in the district as a school counselor. Before this, I was a school counselor up in Bergen County.
Great, thank you. And Mrs. Leonard.
Hi, I'm Susan Leonard. I've been in the district since 1995. I've taught in all 4 elementary schools at one point or another, and I've taught kindergarten, first grade, ASAP, and currently 2nd grade.
Excellent, and welcome again to both of you. Thank you. And Ms. Leonard, could you continue with why you went into education in the first place? What brought you to this profession?
Sure. It's funny doing a lot of reflecting about this, but I feel like the teaching and the learning process was ingrained in me in an early age, whether it was my mother teaching me to sew, to bake, to cook, or to refinish furniture, or my father teaching me to use power tools, teaching me how to do geometry or how to build a shed. So I think that because they taught me that and they ingrained that in me, that's one of the reasons that I turned to teaching, because it's something that I enjoy doing, and especially with children, teaching them new skills and things of that nature.
Thank you. And Ms. Pranzo.
So I might echo a few things that Mrs. Leonard just said. Ever since I was a young child, I knew I wanted to go into education in some capacity. I was that student that loved school no matter what. After school programs, my teachers, meeting new friends. My family used to joke around. I used to jump out of bed like the Energizer Bunny, ready to go to school. And so I always knew that I needed to be in a school setting as I grew older. And then when I was in high school, I had a wonderful school counselor who really just inspired me even more than I already knew that I wanted to help people. She taught me about the role of being a school counselor. And by creating that relationship with her, knowing I could always go there, she instilled something in me that I think was always there, but allowed me to know that I wanted to be that support person, that helpful person in the schools. And it was even great. I got to, unfortunately not with her, but I got to return to my school where that became a light for me, that I wanted to be a school counselor, to do one of my internships, which was a wonderful experience because it kind of connected all the pieces together.
It's always fascinating to hear people's origin stories. It seems most people can point to somebody or some group, whether it's their parents or a teacher or a counselor like you. So thank you both for that. And staying with you, Ms. Pranzo, what has been the most challenging aspect of the COVID-19 environment in your role as a school counselor?
Yeah, so I think, this year we can all relate that it definitely has thrown us some challenges. But to kind of start off the bat, I think what we continue to work on at Woodland is having a growth mindset, which has become even more important for us to recognize throughout last year and now into this year. I think one of the most challenging things that I continue to do and continue to grow on, I'd like to look at it, is we've definitely entered a time of uncertainty, whether we're a child or an adult. And with these times of uncertainty, kind of trying to look at different and unique ways to provide strategies for students and even families to cope during these times. With everything going on, there's been a lot of change. And a lot of these uncertainties come out of because there are things that we can't control. So how do we cope with those things that we can't control, which sometimes is easier said than done. So I think really trying to explore different ways that to help students that are unique and different than we may have not used in the past. I also think it's so important that no matter what setting a student is in, is to establish that feeling of feeling connected and safe, whether it's through a Google Meet screen or it's in person. I think that's something that we always want our students to feel in whatever setting they're in. And I want to take this opportunity because I think it's such an important time too, that with all these challenges, we've said it, I think, throughout the whole year, that it really is such a team effort. So thanking everyone, families, administrators, teachers, students, we do all of these things in these challenging times to support our students. And I don't think everything that we continue to do could be done without everyone working as a team together.
Thank you. And Mrs. Leonard, from the classroom teacher perspective, what have been the challenges about teaching in this environment?
I'm such a hands-on person and such a hands-on teacher. One of the most challenging things that I've encountered is not being able to sit next to the child and, work out a problem with them, not being able to give them a high five when they've done a great job, or, give them a hug just because, oh my God, you did such a great job. I'm so proud of you. It's so different when you do the air high five or the air hug, but it's also another challenge, especially on the days that we were virtual, and thank goodness we're, K-2 is back full time, not being able to correct them, to help them correct their mistakes. So with math, for instance, if I took a small group previously, I would be able to look at what's going on with their mind and what's going on with what they're doing. And I can't do that on the, via the screen, or, being in the front of the classroom and, having them do it in their workbooks. I can't catch everybody's thought process at the same time. So that's been one of the hardest things that I've had to do, is to keep myself distanced from the kids, and to try to, it's just so hard. I mean, just to keep that 6 foot distance. And it's, we've gotten through it, but it's been really tough.
And let's keep going on that side of it, on the getting through it and on the successes. Mrs. Leonard, could you share an area of success that you and your students have experienced together?
I think one of the biggest successes that we've had has been our ability to be flexible and our ability to adapt to change. I want to put the old adage in there about teaching old dogs new tricks, and I've learned quite a few new tricks. But it's always been, very important to be flexible as a teacher. You've got to change that lesson at the last minute if it's not working. You got to turn around and do that. And especially during the virtual times, there was one time we were on a Google Meet with the whole class, and I'm asking questions of everybody, and I'm asking this particular student, and he's not answering me. And he continues to, he's got his head down, he's working. And I'm like, John, not his name, but, John. And obviously there was some technical difficulties. The other kids started chiming in, trying to get him. And he finally picked up his head, and I'm mouthing the words and he can't. So I finally got my whiteboard out, and I'm like, can you hear me? He's like, no. So in the next probably 10 to 15 minutes, we had a discourse with the whiteboard, with a series of yes and no questions as to, can you hear me? Can you do this? Can you do that? And we finally did figure it out. But I wanted to reach through the computer for all the other kids and just thank them for their patience, and their ability to just like, all right, she's going to lose it, but she's hanging in there. And, we finally did get the problem solved, but it was just, I think our ability to adapt and to be flexible during this whole time has been one of the best things that has been happening.
Thank you. And I think it reminds us, especially for those not living in this world every day, about, it's one thing to be, say, in a business meeting with all adults using a video conferencing software. It's another thing to be trying to engage a classroom full of second graders using this kind of software, especially if you think back to last spring when nobody had any experience with it at all.
Right.
And it takes invention, as you're describing. And Ms. Pranzo, how about for you? What's an area of success that you've experienced with your students?
So this is I feel like a difficult question because I have so many things that start to come into my mind. But to narrow a few, I think I would say, to echo a little bit more of what I said on the last one, were the challenges and continuing to have students grow in their coping strategies. Whether a student is in a mask or whether they're on a Google Meet, seeing that light bulb go off for them, or coming to me and saying, Ms. Pranzo, you told me to do this coping strategy, and guess what? It worked. And they did it on their own. And the reason why I bring that up is because I think it's different sometimes when we're in a smaller group setting, myself and the student, we're working through the coping strategies, I'm coaching them through it, but to see them instill it for themselves, especially in those moments, I think it's something like it teaches me, I've definitely experienced emotions as an adult throughout all of this. And I sometimes need to reflect and kind of hone in and ground myself to those coping strategies that I'm teaching others. So when that light bulb goes off and you could see that they're regulating their own emotions, it's pretty powerful. Another thing I would say, I hold a lot of groups, whether it's in person or through a Google Meet, always maintaining 6 feet of distance for in person. But some of our sessions are also, some kids are on the screen as well as off the screen. And I think it's really great to see the students interact socially with one another in a different environment. Sometimes we even do it as adults. We talk over one another because we can't read body language as much. So learning different social cues and hearing students say, oh no, so-and-so, you were about to say something. I'm going to step back and I'm going to let you speak. And those interactions that are present when we're in person, but a little bit different this year, I think is a success to see how our students, even though they may not have as many social opportunities, are still growing socially in some capacity.
Great, thank you. And thank you both for your passion for your students' successes. So the way you told the stories even was really nice. So in closing, Ms. Pranzo, we'll start with you. When the kids think back to this time of their lives in the future, what do you hope that they'll remember about you and your work together with them?
So one thing that has been personally difficult for me this year is I'm a big smile person. I love to smile. I smile all day long. And so I can't do that as much with the mask on. But we always say that we could still see and feel someone's emotions through their body language and just their overall energy. And so I hope that, in the future, that the students, no matter what, remember that smile through, whether it's through a screen or whether it's behind a mask and in my eyes and in my energy. Because I think that smile for me represents that I'm always, or I hope that it represents that I'm always a person that the kids can go to, that supportive person. And on those days that may be a little bit more difficult, that I'm going to be there to help them and kind of ground them. Or even if they just need a little brain break. This year has definitely been a different way of learning. If they need that second to kind of refocus themselves, that I'm always that person there to help them. But I also, on the flip side, want them to be proud of themselves and to recognize all their hard work and their perseverance through this, and take a time to really be proud of all that they have accomplished, because it hasn't been easy, if we're going to be completely realistic. And their ability to learn through new things, as Mrs. Leonard said before, adapt, be flexible, practice patience, problem solve, while demonstrating respect towards one another. They really should know how proud we are all of them each and every day.
Excellent, thank you. And Mrs. Leonard, what about you? What do you hope that your students will think back and remember about their second grade year with you?
I hope they remember the fun that we had, whether it's been online or whether it's been in the classroom, and somebody tells a joke or comes up with a comment and says, oh, and that's such a great, something that goes along with what we were talking about. And that they remember that we learned no matter where we were or how we were connected, whether it was through the computer, whether it was through the classroom, that we were still able to be part of a learning community and, still come together, be a class, albeit a small class, but connecting with one another and connecting with the learning that we're doing. I really hope that they remember how flexible and how we adapted to everything that we did. And we learned no matter what. It might have taken us a little bit longer, but we kept on going and we learned. So I really hope that they remember it with some fondness and with a smile.
Wonderful. So I want to thank both of you, not only for taking the time to have this conversation. We're recording this on the very first day back from winter break, when you have 1,000 other things that you need to work on and things that keep you very busy. So I appreciate you taking the time to share your stories with me, but also for your leadership in your roles at Woodland and to the district. And as I've said many times to community members, we wouldn't be open and operating and having positive experiences if it wasn't for our professionals like you. So thank you for your hard work, and congratulations on this well-deserved recognition as well.
Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you again, and have a wonderful rest of the afternoon.
You too.
Cheers.
Bye-bye.